I built my life on hard work and independence, but my family tried to tear it down with a single lie. Hey, I'm Michael Carter, 32, a financial analyst in Boston. This is my story. After years of grinding, I carved out a solid life, nothing fancy, just stable. So when mortgage papers for a $480,000 house I never bought showed up in my mail, I was floored. Then my parents dropped the bomb. They expected me to pay for my brother's new home. When I said no, they sued me, demanding the full amount. What followed was a legal and emotional nightmare that ripped my family apart and dragged us to court. Before I dive in, where are you watching from? Hit subscribe for more real-life stories about family financial drama that might save you from a similar fate. To understand how my family turned against me, you need to know the Carter family dynamic. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Connecticut with my parents, David and Laura Carter, and my younger brother Ethan, 4 years my junior. From childhood, there was a clear divide in how we were treated. I was the responsible one, expected to excel, provide, and never falter. Ethan was the golden child, coddled and excused. If I got an A, Dad would ask why it wasn't an A+. If Ethan scraped by with a D, they'd throw a pizza party to motivate him. It wasn't abuse, just a quiet unfairness that sank in over time. For my 16th birthday, I got a second-hand bike. Ethan got a used pickup truck for his. I worked at a hardware store through high school while Ethan's job was figuring himself out. I was the first Carter to go to college, earning a partial scholarship to Boston University. I covered the rest with student loans and a 20-hour-a-week gig at the campus bookstore. My parents didn't contribute a dime, saying they were saving for Ethan's future. I didn't mind much. I was proud of my hustle. Ethan, meanwhile, drifted through 3 colleges over 6 years, never graduating. Mom and Dad paid his tuition, rent, and even gave him an allowance, dropping over $160,000 on his education, while I chipped away at my loans. After college, I landed an entry-level job at a Boston financial firm, living with roommates in a cramped apartment, eating instant noodles to save every penny. 5 years of promotions and frugality later, I bought a 1-bedroom condo, built an emergency fund, and paid off my loans by 30. I was proud of my independence. Ethan, though, couldn't hold a job. Barista, delivery driver, office temp, you name it. He lived in our parents' basement rent-free until 27. When he finally moved out, they co-signed his lease, paid his deposit, and bought him furniture. Throughout our 20s, my parents leaned on me to help Ethan. When his truck broke down, Mom called me. "You're good with money, Michael. Can't you spare $500 for your brother?" When Ethan wanted a Vegas trip, Dad suggested I cover it as a brotherly gift. I'd often cave, feeling guilty but resentful, telling myself it was a one-off. It never was. The unspoken rule was clear. Since I was successful, I owed Ethan. Family dinners grew tense in my 30s. I'd mention a work win and Mom would pivot to Ethan's struggles. Unpaid bills, maxed out credit cards. The message was always, your success means you fix his problems. Last Thanksgiving, I shared news of my promotion to senior financial analyst, a big raise. Big mistake. Dad pulled me aside. Ethan's drowning in debt. With your new salary, you could clear it without blinking. I dodged, saying I'd check my budget. As I left, I overheard Mom tell Ethan, "Don't worry, we'll work it out with Michael. He doesn't get how hard life is for regular folks." The irony stung. Ethan had never faced real-world consequences thanks to them. Despite this, I craved their approval. I wanted them to see the life I'd built through grit, to respect me as the man I'd become, not just a wallet for Ethan. That hope shattered one April Tuesday when I found a thick envelope from Massachusetts Bay Mortgage Company in my mail. Inside were documents listing me as the borrower for a $480,000 loan on a house in Winchester, a ritzy Boston suburb. Monthly payments, $2,850 for 30 years. My signature or a close fake was scrawled on every page. I'd never seen this house, never applied for this loan. Panic hit. I called the mortgage company, left a frantic voicemail about fraud, and barely slept. Next morning, Mom called, casual as ever. "Did you get the mortgage papers?" My heart sank. "Mom, what's this about? My name's on a house I don't own." She brushed me off. "Come for dinner tonight. 6 o'clock. Ethan's here, we'll explain." She hung up before I could argue. I called in sick, my mind racing. That evening I drove to their Connecticut house, Ethan's financed Jeep in the driveway. They sat in the living room, eerily calm, pouring me a beer I didn't want. Dad started, "We know you're confused, but we've planned this." Mom chimed in. "Ethan's renting a pricey place in Cambridge. With the housing market crazy, we got him a starter home in Winchester. Great area. Perfect for a future family." I cut in. "What's this got to do with me?" Dad cleared his throat. "With Ethan's job history and credit, he couldn't qualify, so we used your info, your income, your credit." I felt sick. "You forged my signature, committed fraud?" Mom frowned. "Don't be dramatic, Michael. You're doing well, you can afford this. Family helps family." Ethan finally spoke. "You're always bragging about your job. I can't even pay rent and you're sitting on cash." I snapped. "I worked for every dollar. You've never held a job longer than 6 months." Dad's voice hardened. "We've decided. The house is bought. Ethan moves in next week. You're paying the mortgage." I stood, shaking. "I didn't agree to this. I'm not paying a cent. Tomorrow I'm reporting this as fraud." Chaos erupted. Ethan yelled I was ruining his life. Mom listed sacrifices they'd made, mostly lies. Dad threatened to disown me for being selfish. Mom grabbed my arm as I headed out. "Walk out and you're no longer family." I looked at her. "If family means letting you steal my future, I'm done." I drove home, tears burning, rage and grief warring inside me. My family saw me as a paycheck, not a son. Next morning, I called my friend Ryan, a paralegal at a firm handling financial crimes. "This is identity theft, Mike," he said. "Federal crime, you need a lawyer." He connected me with Sarah Klein, an attorney who took my case pro bono initially. Sarah was blunt. "We need to notify the mortgage company, property records, and maybe the police. This is fraud." I hesitated. "Will my parents go to jail?" She replied, "That's your call, but you must protect yourself. This mortgage is in your name. If payments lapse, your credit's toast." I gathered evidence, forged documents, texts from Mom admitting the plan, a timeline. Sarah drafted a certified letter to my parents stating I rejected the mortgage and would pursue legal action against the fraud. 3 days later, Dad left a voicemail. "This tantrum's gone far enough. Mom's a wreck, Ethan's sobbing. Grow up and take responsibility." I didn't respond. I sent fraud notifications to the mortgage company and county records, including an affidavit about the forged signature. Then the harassment escalated. Mom showed up at my office yelling until security escorted her out. Dad emailed my boss, claiming I was unstable. Ethan posted on social media, painting me as a greedy brother trying to make him homeless, complete with edited texts and a GoFundMe. Betrayed by my brother. It raised thousands on lies. Extended family piled on, uncles, cousins, even a great aunt calling me disloyal. Only my grandpa Tom called with support. "I'm not picking sides, but I'm here, Mike." His kindness broke me. The stress was crushing. I stopped sleeping, haunted by nightmares of bankruptcy. My work suffered, my boss checked in worried. I quit my gym, avoided friends, and lived in dread of legal emails. Then Dad's ultimatum. "Withdraw your fraud claims or we're suing for the $480,000. We have years of agreements a judge will uphold." I sent it to Sarah, who scoffed. "No court enforces verbal family deals for a $500,000 loan, but a lawsuit, even baseless, will cost you." She suggested a restraining order for the harassment. The idea of legally barring my parents felt surreal, but their actions left me no choice. 4 days later, I was served lawsuit papers. Carter and Carter versus Carter. A sick irony. They claimed I'd agreed to buy Ethan a house, backed out, and they'd acted as my agents in good faith. It was nonsense, but real. I faced a legal battle that could drain my savings and tarnish my reputation. Alone in my condo, papers everywhere. I hit rock bottom. Part of me considered paying to end it, but clarity hit. This wasn't just money. It was decades of manipulation, of being the provider while Ethan skated. I called Sarah. They're suing. I'm fighting. Sarah referred me to James Russo, a litigation attorney specializing in family financial disputes. His $10,000 retainer wiped out my emergency fund. James was confident. Their case is garbage. No court will enforce a forged mortgage, but they're betting you'll fold under pressure. We filed a response, denying their claims, and countersued for harassment, emotional distress, and defamation from their smear campaign. We also moved to dismiss the case, citing no legal basis. The judge, Elizabeth Harper, set a hearing 3 months out. Those months were hell. The mortgage company's fraud probe dragged on, leaving the loan in my name, tanking my credit. Ethan moved into the Winchester house, posting smug Instagram pics, living the dream. My legal fees piled up, forcing me to pause 401k contributions and use credit cards for groceries. A blow to my pride. I lost weight. My hair thinned from stress, and panic attacks woke me at 3 a.m. Friends didn't get it. Just help Ethan, man. Family's forever. I dropped my therapist when she suggested compromise with my parents. I was done sacrificing. 2 months in, my parents' lawyer offered a settlement. I'd pay the mortgage for 5 years, then Ethan would refinance. They'd drop the suit. I nearly caved. 5 years was brutal but survivable. But it meant validating their fraud. In James's office, I said, "No deal. Not 5 years, not 5 days. They're wrong. And I'm done." James nodded. "Good call, Mike." The night before the hearing, I broke down in my condo, sobbing for the kid who craved his parents' pride, the guy who built a life alone, now facing their betrayal. But resolve replaced grief. I texted James. "Ready for tomorrow." He replied, "Rest up. You're tougher than you think." I slept dreamlessly for the first time in months. At the Suffolk County Courthouse, I faced my family in courtroom 3C. Mom clutched a tissue. Dad glared. Ethan shot me dirty looks. Their lawyer, Robert Hayes, oozed arrogance. Judge Harper, a sharp woman in her 60s, heard our case at 11 a.m. James argued, "This case is baseless. No verbal agreement exists. The plaintiffs forged my client's signature. A crime." He presented texts where Dad wrote, "Mike won't agree, so we'll do it and make him deal." Mom replied, "He won't let Ethan go homeless." Hayes claimed family obligations gave them implied authority. Judge Harper wasn't buying it. "Are you saying parents can forge signatures based on family values?" Dad's testimony, painting us as a tight-knit family where I owed Ethan, was shredded when Harper asked, "Did Michael explicitly agree to this mortgage?" Dad admitted, "Not exactly." Mom and Ethan's tearful pleas didn't sway her. I testified about my self-made life, the forged documents, and years of smaller financial abuses. Hayes tried to paint me as selfish, but Harper shut him down. 9 days later, James called. Case dismissed with prejudice. They can't refile. We got $15,000 in legal fees and a 90-day restraining order against them. The judge referred the fraud to the DA. Relief hit hard. The mortgage company later cleared my name, and my credit began recovering. The Boston Globe ran a story, "Judge rules against parents in mortgage fraud case." Ethan's voicemail blamed me for their bankruptcy and his eviction. I deleted it. My Uncle Stephen, Dad's estranged brother, emailed support, revealing a family pattern of financial manipulation. Grandpa Tom's jewelry box sent by Grandma Ellen became a symbol of my roots, not their control. A year later, I was promoted to team leader, bought a 2-bedroom condo, and joined a support group for financial abuse survivors. Helping others, like a guy named Chris facing a similar loan scam, gave my pain purpose. Ethan sent a tentative email about therapy, but I kept my distance. My parents downsized after bankruptcy, silent since the ruling. Sitting with Chris in a Cambridge cafe, I saw my old fear in him. "You're not alone," I said, handing him my card. Walking home, I felt free, not just from the mortgage, but from a lifetime of manipulation. The lawsuit meant to break me built something stronger, a life of boundaries, chosen family, and trust in myself.